Welcome to Anthology Training. Today we're going to talk about importing external data. There's been a lot of questions about importing Edelweiss, so that's the file that we're going to use. Now I've done a couple of things on the Edelweiss website to prepare for this training. One of them was I created a file. So I'm going to do a get on that file right now, and we do that by choosing F6 get. But before we do that, let me just recap on something real quick. I want to turn off autofill. I'll discuss that later in another video, and show records for this user only. I want to check explicit path and save settings. This way, if I come back into the screen another time, anything that I've saved here as far as the way the fields are set up remains that way. I want it to go into inventory only, so that's what I've chosen here. If we pull this down, you can see there are other options. And I'm going to check add to inventory. So now let's do our get. So we choose F6 get, and this is my file, and you can see I've created a bunch of records to download. Some things I want to point out is in older versions of Anthology, all the reference fields were listed over here. They still are, but they're also listed up here for easier viewing. So this tells me that this is what Edelweiss has decided was the publisher for this. They chose hardback. They used BB to describe the department. And this is the new feature that I was talking about. This is a subject that I created on Edelweiss for this particular group of records. And I call it fan because I'm actually going to use learning, and I'm going to associate that code with my fantasy section here in Anthology. So as we can see, some of the things have already been learned. This is the Anthology publisher and the Anthology media here, and this is the department shown here. Let me scroll over so you can get a little better look. This is the department. Now you can see that BB is showing now as a department for book. Well, that's because in previous downloads that association was already made in the learning module, so every time it sees BB it tries to put it in the book department, which is exactly what I want to happen. You can see over here that it says hardcover, this says hardback. There's the association was made between hardback and hardcover in a previous download. It's also listed down here as hardcover. We don't have a section in here yet, so let's just go ahead and add this section. I'm going to go right here and I'm going to type in FAN for fantasy, and I'm going to select it. When I enter line on this, you can see that it chose fantasy up here. This has made an association between this subject on Edelweiss that I created and fantasy. Every time I use this in subsequent downloads, it'll put it in my fantasy section for me automatically. So let's go to the next item, which we're already on, by the way. To briefly talk about autofill, if autofill were checked when I clicked on this, it would assume that all of this other information, the publisher, the media, the section, the department, everything was the same. And it would have filled that in, pre-populated that as I went down the list. Now, sometimes this can be handy, but again, we'll discuss that in another video. So in this, I want to choose my, you see it didn't choose hardcover because it's not anymore. It's paperback softback. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to choose my paperback section, or I'm sorry, my paperback media. I can see that it's in the FAN subject, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to choose fantasy. Now this looks like a lot of work, but once these associations are made, it pre-fills everything for you. So you only have to do this really one time. And every time you add new things, it brings in a new association and excuse me, and your job gets a little easier. So let me click on this and see what we get. Perfect. Everything fills in just like we wanted. I'm on the next item and I look and I say, this has already been assigned graphic novel. Well, look, GN. GN is now associated with a graphic novel. So whenever we see a subject GN, I go to graphic novel. Paperback, I need to go assign this to paperback. And this is graphic novel and Marvel and book, and everything looks good. So I'm going to choose enter. And I do this further on down the line. I keep going and going and going. This is fiction. So in this one I want to do FIC, and it takes me to my fiction. In this one I want to do paperback. I just hit the letter P to make that happen. And then I enter line. And it fills this all in. And again over here, my section is sci-fi, so I'm going to go to my science fiction. I did that by typing SC really quick. So I go to science fiction, hit P for paperback, there it is, select it, and now this all looks good. We got Marvel, we got Ingram. Let me move this back over so you can see. We've got Marvel, we got Ingram, we've got book, we've got sci-fi. It's going into my inventory, and I click on enter line, and now this order is done. I'm ready to push this into my inventory. If it had been an inventory, which we'll see in another video, this column here would have been listed. So now I'm ready. I've got my associations made for next time. I just have to remember my codes because they're not remembered on Edelweiss. You have to type them in each time. So we're ready to go. I can choose save and come back and work on this later, but I'm ready to post it. So I'm just going to choose post. It says, do I want to add these books? I say OK. And it's done. It clears the screen. I have added these items to my inventory. Thanks for watching.